that makes it different.
You're not gonna do it for compliance.
From me going out, swiping my debit card, paying cash, purchasing pizza, hot wings, and bringing it in so that you'll lock in at 3 o'clock to make me look good.
Day room.
Let's get Beautiful Brown back into the picture. Boom.
Remember Will Smith with that picture with Jada Pinkett?
You got caulk energy all over you.
It is August.
Oh yeah, all right. Damn. Here we go. For the quick fast, I just need an officer recognition from you.
Yes, you'll get one.
No, right now.
I want to give recognition to Officer R. Glover.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh, that's hard.
Yes.
Ooh.
She demonstrated absolute leadership.
And she fired.
She's beautiful. She demonstrated to me leadership, competence. She was capable. She worked well under pressure. She was assigned to a specific area where she ran that area. And I don't care how much time you had, you were going to buckle and bow down to her because that was her area and she ran it well with her team.
Mm-hmm. And people would just buckle and bow down to her because she fired. All right, okay.
But I want to give her a special shout out because we worked together during some hard times and we were each other's rock. And I appreciate the sisterhood, the friendship, and she's true blue.
Shout out to her, for real. She is a great officer.
Much respect.
Great officer, great person. And on the job, outside the job.
Oh, yeah, even outside, she chill as fuck, right?
Yes, very, very great.
She be having them dudes that was around kind of nervous. Motherfuckers be insecure.
Yeah, she make you better be ready.
Yeah, motherfuckers.
Did you pull up to Ricardo's with us one time?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I was there for that one.
We had a great time.
I just know dudes be insecure around her. I wouldn't be. That's
Can I shout somebody out? Shout out Officer Gadsden.
Ooh.
Officer Gadsden. Shout out him out. He was like another Quizby for me. Like when I first got on a job, like anything I needed, I could like ask him. So shout out to Officer Gadsden.
Shout out to Officer Gadsden.
That's a good officer right there.
That man eats all the food though, man. That's a slim cat that eats a lot.
He's a
All right. So now, hold on first. Hey, you got some you got questions that you want to get off your chest?
I got questions, but first I want to say, I said this again before. Shout out to the people who's watching and who's giving me commentary on, pros and cons of the show, what they want to see more of, what they want to see less of.
Why they don't say this to me?
Because you're weird. At least y'all get hit ups.
Wow.
So I want to say, and this is like mainly from like females.
Okay.
That I'm sorry, women, beautiful women,
Same thing.
beautiful women all around the world, beautiful women. They're giving us a lot of props for your interview, your segment, especially because they said like the questions that were asked, your responses, you relating being a mother on the job, all that stuff. Like they said that they could have related to. So
thank you for that.
Yes, I want to.
Feedback.
Yeah, I definitely want to say that
Because sometimes people feel that if you're no longer a part of something, that your voice is invalid. And I really made
We always
every
take your voices here.
effort. You take a lot here. You make every effort when you come on here to speak about your personal experience. And so that just makes me feel even more validated. I thank you for that because sometimes, like I said, when you're not a part of that system anymore, people make it seem as though you don't have the right to speak on what you've experienced.
Yeah, and I want to say that's from people who are currently on the job still and people who are off
Shout
the
out.
job still.
Thank you so much.
So that tells you, first off, let's shout out, Mac, who put in all this together. He's the one who put all this together. So
Macalicious.
I've been talking to Mac about this, I think, since me and him started talking, and he took the time and money to put all this together. So that's why I want to shout him out, because
I'm
there's-
broke, nigga. I'm broke.
There's an audience watching. Like I even have some of my friends out of state watching, hitting me up, telling me like, "Yo, why didn't you ask this?" Or I want to know this. So as I get more feedback from from people who are watching, I try to get the questions for particular people, because sometimes I might get a question to be asked, but maybe it goes for a certain person. Like the question that I asked you earlier about you being an officer,
Right.
a delegate, and how do you manage that time? That was that I put the question together, but I got it from talking to someone else who's watching the show.
Got you.
So thank you to the people who's watching and who's actually taking the time out to hit us up and put more content out there. So
Thank you.
yes.
No, I want to thank everybody who's actually watching. I want to thank even the people who said this is a ghetto ass show. I want to thank all of them.
Listen,
But
man,
what defines ghetto?
Put it like this, I don't care. They watch.
they watching. At the
As long as we
end,
get that view.
they took their time out to even click that video and watch, and that's it.
And people are watching in a bunch. Put it like this, people are watching. They don't want to say they watch, and I understand that.
Yeah, and I'm hearing people, they love watching the show on their way to work, on their way from work, or wherever it is they're going. When it's an hour away, that's when they put the show on, and we're getting good feedback. So
I'm
yes,
gonna I have to give you a shout out because you have done an excellent job at editing.
No. A semi-essence. Not everybody would say that. Some names got through.
But
I'm trying though.
No, you're doing good. You're doing well. But what I'm going to say is that I have to give you a lot of credit for starting this from the ground up
Yes.
on your own. Like saying, listen, there are people who have something to say. That's why I said, what is the definition of this being ghetto? I think for you to come on and have something to say about your experience, if you think that the person who's sitting here is ghetto or that the concept is ghetto, then that goes to show you how ghetto of a place that we worked. It's a
That's true.
reflection
Uh-huh.
of what it is that we experience. So if you think my experience is ghetto and me speaking on it is ghetto, then that just goes to show you that this is why we have a platform like this, to tell you about the ghetto nonsense that goes on
In the city.
in the
What-
city.
what I just
Because it's a
don't-
city within a city.
Well put.
What
Well put.
I started the show because I wanted to hear the real stories, the real fake stories. I wanted the people involved who actually seen this shit, who witnessed it or were a part of it, to actually tell their stories. Simply because I was tired of inmates telling their fucking stories, and they're getting a whole bunch of likes. People are respecting these stories,
Yes.
and I'm like, that shit didn't happen. the way
Especially
it
for a
said.
lot of can't lives.
Cantler's got the best stories.
Stories.
When they was on the pack up, they were, whoo-hoo! You listen to their story, it was like, yo, I was getting it.
They
And,
was Superman.
yo, put it like, yeah,
Niggas turned to the Hulk.
yo, I ran through everybody, so that's why I'm in this can't live house, because I can't live with them because I kept fucking them up.
I got a question for you.
No,
When you were
fuck
in
out
your
here.
last spot, how did you know that that spot was one of the worst spots on that island? I'm going to tell you how I knew mine. Let me tell you mine first.
Go ahead.
I knew that I was in the worst place you could possibly be as a human being. When one day I had an individual given to me and he said, "What house is this?" I said, "Listen, you either can live here or you can't." I don't know what to tell you. Your classification meets the requirement. Movement said you can be here. We taking you as a body. Either you can be here or you can't. Let me know now. He said, "I can live anywhere." You know who the fuck I am? I can live anywhere. All right, you got it. You right, mister. Walked in, did an about face, came back and said, "I can't live here." And I realized in that moment, shit, maybe I don't need to be here either. like, damn. Like,
I got one better for you, right?
Okay.
Because I got one that came into the house, literally came in, it was the morning time. He got a toothbrush and some toothpaste for me. He goes, "Yo, Matt, motherfuckers out here, they don't know who the fuck I am, right? This is literally the morning." And I'm like, I'm just me, and I'm like, "Yo, I'm Officer Matt." "Yeah, they don't know who the fuck I am, blah, blah, blah," right? It's locking time.
Okay.
So yo, I ain't locking in. Beep, bop, boop, 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 bop. Literally about 7 to 7:05, right? He comes back, he goes, "Yo, Mac, why they do that to me, yo?" It was great. I'm like, I thought you said they didn't know who you was. Now is why they do that to me.
Wow.
He couldn't get with the program, and they wasn't fucking with him. Like, so he got his shit rocked right away. But in order for me to understand the place I was in was bad, was when I seen higher ups not giving a fuck. When you see the ADW say, yeah, I'm banging out small because this shit wild.
Damn.
It's a trickle down
Yo.
effect. Like, if the captain didn't say that to me, the officer didn't say that to me, but the ADW did. What chance do I have in here? The ADW's like, this is crazy.
That's the part for me that's like really disheartening. I wish that there was a way to just bring you back to a time where it just wasn't like this. And so now what I'm telling anyone is, I don't think that you're working in jail.
We're
I don't
not.
think that
We're
any
working-
officer
this
is
adult
working in jail.
supervision.
I believe that you're working in inhumanity. You are working in gruesome, horrific, horrendous conditions.
This is now adult
and this is
supervision.
not even
It's
a
not
proper
corrections.
place of employment. This is something that is detrimental to you, your health, your family structure, the individuals who are coming in. The whole
Hold that
system.
thought, because I actually have a question about
Okay.
that.
Oh, we
For
get into
both of you
questions?
guys.
We get into questions?
But before we get to that,
Okay.
I want you to hold that thought,
All
because
right,
I have
wait.
a question about that.
We got one more question. I'm gonna let you get this one question off because we got questions for them.
No,
for
I'm
days.
not asking. I told I want to hold that comment for
Oh,
a question
so
that I
all right,
have.
so we're gonna get. You want to get into the North Pole?
Oh, all right, yeah. I guess you guys.
That wasn't the flow he was. What?
It don't matter.
Say what you gotta say, bro. Say what you
All right, so speaking of stories, I'm getting a lot of. We have a lot of officers who are transferring now from,
Buildings.
East to PD,
Okay.
and I want to know what's your take on that? On
I think
all
it's
these
a great thing to
officers?
do. I'm going to tell you right now.
Is this coming from you as a?
I wish
PD to direction, or-
that I had done things a little differently. But at the time, like I said earlier, that I had come on, my spouse was on the job and said this is something that we should do collectively because financially it would just benefit both of us. But I'm going to tell you that the transition is amazing. And I think that everyone should seize the opportunity while they can. And I'm going to tell you why. PD has its issues like every other agency. But what it does afford you is the ability to work in the capacity that you already have passion in. So if you are someone who wants to do photography, they have a unit for that. If you're someone who wants to work in the TV and movie unit, they have that. If you want to work as an undercover cop, if you want to work in narcotics, there are so many units and divisions. If you are someone who works in social service or you want to work with children, they might put you in community affairs. They might put you as an officer who is a liaison between, let's say, the high schools and the precinct. There are so many divisions and units within each other that they give you the opportunity to pursue those things that you're passionate about. You have cops who are registered nurses. You have cops who are attorneys.
Now I got. This is the question for you: is would you have said this 10 years ago?
I've always said it, but I always did the opposite, and I think that the opposite was more of a personal reason.
Because I think there was spots like this in DOC at one point.
And see, that's the thing also. When I came on, you had so many units and you had so many divisions. And unfortunately, those things are no longer a part of the department to give you an incentive to stay.
There you go. There's no.
And for those who are in spots, a lot of them haven't earned it. A lot of people who are able-bodied, who have never really worked one-on-one with an inmate, are in key positions when they could be utilized in the facility.
Here we go. When I got onto corrections, I remember the first 6 months I was in there, and somebody wanted to leave. And you know what they said to the person who wanted to leave? They were like, yo, we got to go get them. We got to go pick them up. We
Right.
got to go help them out. We got to make sure they stay in the fight.
Right.
You know what happened when I left? They were like, congratulations, you're getting the fuck out of here. That's the big disconnect. Because when I first got on, people were like, yo, you just stick it out. You should be here. Opposed to when I left, it's like, yo, you found something. It doesn't even matter if it was better as you found, yo, you working at 7-Eleven now? Yo, take that shit. There's really officers that's like, yo, I'd rather have a job making shit.
Because
living-
you can't explain. You cannot make it make sense that female officers are coming to work and being sexually assaulted.
You can't.
You cannot
Yes, unfortunately.
make it make sense
By inmate?
Yes.
that
What? Yeah, the fuck.
that supervisors, you have people who put on a shirt and are and by test they've been appointed to be a supervisor, and when they attempt to do their job, they're told no, you can't. Why are you telling captains that they cannot inform the department that officers are doing triple tours? Why are you making them falsify paperwork and documentation so that you can make the optics look like everyone's leaving after 2 shifts? But even if you're working double tours for 4 days of your rotation or 5 days, you're tired. That's still an inhumane thing. Contractually, am I right or wrong, it's your first and your last that you're mandated.
Correct.
And yes, they can take 1 pass day, correct?
Correct.
But to be in a situation where inmates can sell narcotics, no different from the bodega on the corner store,
Which is now in videos, which they're shooting.
they're shooting music videos. Why would I stay?
There's no reason to stay except.
And then you have people.
Your job is always in
And
jeopardy.
let's be clear, there are people who have tried to step up. There are supervisors who've stepped up and said, listen, wait a minute. We're not with this program. We want to enforce what's supposed to be done so that our staff can feel safe and protected, and even the supervisors are getting backlash. You got supervisors being suspended for doing their job, for notifying the department, the head honcho of the department, that we have security issues, and you want me to stay? No. So it seems right now that anything else is better. What do you think about going to PD for those who are
even going to PD,
transitioning?
anywhere.
Or any other agency?
Yeah, any
what do
other
you think
agency.
about it?
If you take what you've learned in this agency with you anywhere you go, whether it's
Bring that mic closer, bro.
into a little bit law enforcement, whatever you choose to do,
He's good.
take the opportunity. Make the best of it. If it improves your quality of life, do what you need to do for
There
you,
you go.
and then your family.
I'm not opposed to anybody leaving, right? But I will say this: when I first got into corrections, even my academy time, I didn't hang with anybody who had aspirations on leaving, because I had no aspirations on leaving. I decided that this was my career. I was going to stick it out, and if it had stayed similar to what it was when I came in,
You would have never left.
I would have never left.
I agree.
But it just keeps getting worse, and I'm like, in my head, somebody is fucking this agency over, and they don't care how bad it
They
gets.
don't want it to change, and I'm going to tell you why. It's the same way when we sit in traffic. We sit in traffic and we wonder who gets paid off of us sitting here in traffic. Somebody has to be. But if they wanted it to change, it's actually the easiest
It's
thing
doable.
to do. Like,
It's
you
doable.
literally could go back and just do 101, just 101. If you were to, I mean, they've now condensed facilities, correct?
Yeah.
So if you've condensed the facilities, you now go in, do an audit, see what areas need what. Don't you have an entire storehouse?
They did that before.
Okay.
It says somebody,
so now
somebody's
you
sitting
look
up there to
you look
fail.
at minimum standards, and you look at your audit, and you look at where your areas are deficient, and you say, okay, let's stock those areas. Let's make sure that everyone has what they're supposed to have. When I came on, you had to have what? A green mattress, 2 blues, a white, an operable toilet, an operable sink. Every inmate was entitled to a roll of tissue once a week, a toothbrush once a week.
Roll of tissue once a week.
Yes.
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 You got the runs, you in trouble.
And-
Don't eat the food.
You ensured that every vacant cell was still to standard. So if you had a body come in,
It was operable.
intake
Sorry.
worked hand in hand to ensure that with laundry or with clothes box, that these guys were coming into your area with what they needed so that they weren't bombarding the housing area officer.
Shout out to me.
I mean, if you just do that and start there, you have a whole ESU. You have a whole, shut it all down.
Hold on.
Day room.
We in here, about to get into,
What the fuck?
was it about to get into the North Pole?
We're gonna
Number
get into
9.
the North Pole episode, right? We're gonna get into the North Pole. So when we say the North Pole, we mean It's one of the securest places in the world. Santa Claus can only get off every once in a while. So now, with the North Pole episode, certain people have been there, certain people haven't. Some people got disrespected because they said they wasn't up there doing anything.
Yo, that's a fact, bro.
I heard you can't go.
That's a lie. I've been there a couple times.
I heard it
It's
was
not
too
my
cold.
fault. I was told
I heard it was too cold.
I don't have enough time
It was
to go up there,
It was cold.
and then the next day they sent me up there.
Here we go.
So
Now, when it comes to the North Pole, actually, I want to start off with the MEO 16 and who's official. Because when it comes to the MEO 16, corruption in the city, and who's official. How do we bypass being official and separate that from corruption? We had a whole segment one time that had to get cut, so I want to get deeper into it with you guys.
Sorry. You said, how do you bypass being official versus, say it again?
I want to know how you can be official and also fall under some type,
Non-corruption?
like non-corruption.
Can you?
Yes.
Now,
Man.
in the North Pole, there's cages inside of cages. In the North Pole, you're supposed to have the worst of the worst. You don't have Santa Claus and his elves, you have the devil and his keepers. Right? This is what it's supposed to be. What it actually is a bunch of pussy-ass motherfuckers that was just too scared to be in the house. You might have one or two official dudes, but most of it is, I'm too scared to live with my own kind, so I stay here in the North Pole to hide out.
and you act up so you can stay there.
Yeah, pretty much. I'll do whatever I got to do. I'll cut somebody if I got to get up here.
Do what I need to do to
Or
stay
you've
there.
established enough of a reputation that when you do come in, if you're a recidivist, every time you come in, this is the only place you can go.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, when we talk about the North Pole, I got to ask people who have spent some time in the North Pole, who have been on that sleigh ride. We had a conversation on what makes an official officer. Now, my take on being official was a lot different than somebody else's. I said anybody who's in the field, and anybody who's in the field who would hold it down when they need to hold it down is official, in my book. And I'll take this back to the movie Fallen with Denzel in there, and the dude asks, he says, "You're a clean officer." He said, "Yo, what do you think about dirty officers?" And Denzel said, "If the officer is doing his job 99% of the time, why do I give a fuck about that 1%?" Which is generally the case that I would have to think of in the North Pole. So it came up that one of the officers might have gotten caught doing something, but we couldn't say if it was actually done or not, or if it was warranted to even be considered him doing something.
It's sticky.
Yeah.
There's a lot of blurred lines with that situation.
This man had his apostles. So what I wanted to know is, do we find this officer dirty in this situation? Or was he just complacent with what was going on in that area?
So there's a multitude of things that we have to address with that. One, how is this system being run prior to the arrival of certain individuals? If you come into an area and things have already sort of been set up and are already in place and things are being done a certain way and you're walking into that, the question is, do you stand alone and say, I'm not going to participate in this, remove me from this, or do you go along with that program?
Are we doing policy or are we doing practice?
Correct. Are we doing standard operating procedure, or are we actually going to say, this is something that doesn't fall in line with policy?
Now, hold on. You're making sense. But when you go to the North Pole, guess what? You didn't get to the North Pole by walking. You got there by doing whatever you had to do to get there.
Okay.
So you might have been following practice this whole time.
Until you got there.
Why would I switch up now?
So what happens is that there are areas that you work in where very much different from, let's say, General Pop. In GP, it's you and it's them. If you're in an area where it's a multitude of blue versus them, one, that's a situation most people will want to be in because you're not alone. You're not by yourself.
Correct.
Who doesn't want to work in partnership? The second thing is that sometimes there are perks. There are incentives to working in these areas. It can be a 5 and 2. It can be
The schedule. You
a
got
5 and 2
5
rotation.
days on, 2 days off.
It can be parking privileges, especially like on the island when they give you
Gate ones.
gate ones. It can be that when you ask your steady area captain, can I get this day, or I need to put in a time due, or you're not getting late slips, you know, or you get to do your overtime where you want. Like, there are incentives.
I don't know what most of that means.
Just put it like this: incentives. There are incentives for
It's
coming to work
benefits
every day.
to being there.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
just the working.
Because what it is that these areas are some of the worst areas to work in, and even though you're working collectively with other people,
Right.
it's still it's
still
blood
bad.
money. It's a hard day.
It's
So
not-
the incentive, right? Because I've got to be able to do something that sets me apart from just me being by myself, working in an area where I can just be me against them, right? So the incentive is to get you over here so that you can work with a group of people and you collectively get this work done for the day. I've got to give you something because you're
Now,
giving something.
Hold on. Now I have to preference this because I know you guys were in the North Pole, but I also have to tell the people that I rarely was in the North Pole. I rarely was in the North Pole. Granted,
There were reasons for that.
hold on. Granted, every chance I got to go to the North Pole, I went to the North Pole.
But was this like a coveted place that you wanted to go?
No.
Well, the thing is, the area
No.
was steadied up, and steady just means that there were steady staff that were assigned to that area. So unless someone didn't come into work that day,
That's when
there
you
would be
went
no
up.
reason why you would be there.
Correct.
This is like an elite group of people that are handpicked, that are chosen for this specific area so that they can get the job done. And those people are usually chosen by the supervisors.
And it's not a.
And it's
not a-
one
it's not a-
supervisor there per tour, right?
Yes.
It's
So-
not a glorified position. This isn't something that you want to.
You don't want to clean toilets. This is what you're going to do.
This is a toilet.
You're going to be
cleaner.
the toilet cleaner.
Yeah, and you're in the North Pole, but you're shoveling the reindeer shit.
Yeah.
So I wasn't, but somebody like me, I had to deal with.
You didn't dodge it at the same time.
I didn't have, yeah.
There were often times where I think that there were people who were told not to go to those areas. It was said like they can't go. I don't want that person there because I might look at that person as problematic.
So,
I know that for what I know what was going on in that area, you would not have fallen in line. So you would have been more problematic to the system that was going on versus you just going up there doing your job for the day.
but I can't say that I wouldn't have fallen in line. I honestly can't say I wouldn't have fallen in line. I
So
know
you think that there, so let
there's
me ask you
things
this,
that
let
I
me ask
wouldn't
you this.
do.
Let me ask you this. You've prided yourself on how much you've read and how much you've immersed yourself on this job and policy. So you've prided yourself on that. You've run this show and you've said multiple times how much it meant for you to do what you were doing and do it properly and do it well. What makes you think that you would have gone up there to that area and you would have changed anything else
Hold on. Here
from
we
what
go.
you normally do?
I don't do foul shit. Like that was never in the repertoire, right? So you can't get me to do foul shit, right? But what am I seeing that might not be foul? It might be considered foul, but it might not be foul. And here we go. We can break it down. Here we go with Here we go with paying for food,
Buying food.
buying food.
Well, let me say this. I want to make
That was- that was
before
the
we
main
get
hot- that was a hot
before we get
topic.
into the conversation of that. I want to make a distinction. Can I do that?
Go ahead.
There is a distinction between feeding an inmate and feeding an inmate for compliance,
For compliance, like, just so they can
to
do
get
they
them to
want
do what you want them to do.
Oh, no.
There are times when we have inmates who are assigned to specific areas to work with staff, and when events are held, the inmates are then given the privilege of staying sometimes in that area after the event is over
Yes.
and receiving small.
Day room.
So I just want to make a distinction between feeding an inmate and feeding an inmate for compliance. There are times when officers are assigned to areas where there are events and items that are considered permissible and security cleared are then brought into the facility. After those events, you have workers and they clean up. And depending on the rapport or depending on the officer, it's to their choice if they want their worker to receive something from that event. And that's something that would be consumed there in the presence of that officer.
You're doing a lot of talk to say you're not going to feed an inmate unless, and you're not
And
going to
so
do it for
that
compliance.
makes it different
You're not going to do it for compliance.
from me going out, swiping my debit card, paying cash, purchasing pizza, hot wings, and bringing it in so that you'll lock in at 3 o'clock to make me look good.
There you
Being
go.
extorted.
What I'm saying is this
Yes.
compliance.
I'm saying that there's a distinction because you're speaking about ME016 corruption and can you do your job and still do certain things and not be compromised. And I'm saying that yes, there are times that there are things that we do, right, that are not the norm, and not the norm would be you're not supposed to give an inmate anything that's from the outside.
I'm not giving an inmate anything from the outside to gain compliance.
But I'm not going to give them anything to gain compliance on any level.
Yeah, no.
And so
I
that
don't
to
give a
me
fuck about
is
that.
something that is very
The thing I can give you is checks.
The red back.
Oh yeah. Would you?
No.
You're not even doing the checks.
And I'm going to tell you why. The reason why is because when it becomes habit forming, meaning the inmate, you go and you give him 5 boxes. Now you give him 6, and then you give him 10, and then you give him 2, and then the day he doesn't get it, it's a
Yep.
problem. And now we're having a use of force.
Yep.
Had we not done it to begin with, it wouldn't have been an issue. And so there has to be a line drawn. My thing is this.
No, because you just said that, right? But let's say you had a worker, you were in the kitchen, and like he's just steady worker. You're the one who giving it to him. Nobody else is giving it to him, but you're giving it to him.
My worker has to consume anything that I give him in front of me.
Yeah, okay, I even understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But you thought, all right, you take this extra muffin. You worked hard today. You're not gonna do that. I'm
I
not
might
saying
not.
I'm
I
not
might
saying
not.
nothing out of the fucking range. I'm talking
I might
about
not.
DOC shit.
There are habits.
Rewards.
There are habits that you have to be careful about starting. Because let me tell you
Rewards
something. We're human, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you get away with doing something every single day in and day out, and the day you can't, what's the first
But
thing you
that's
say?
not getting away
What's
with
the
anything.
first thing you're gonna say? But I've been doing this.
That's
But
correct.
that's
I've been.
but that's not getting away with anything. I'm allowed to give an inmate shit. I'm not talking about something that I caught from outside. I'm talking about inmate shit. Now let's.
But if you
this is
but
gonna
if
be-
you
this is
have
gonna be
workers,
different.
but if you have workers and you give your workers muffins, milk, sugar, things that are permissible according to DOC that you can give an inmate, and your worker depends on that now because maybe the housing area he lives in, he's being extorted.
But that's okay. But that's
Like,
not my
you know-
that's not the issue of the
But
officer.
you're not understanding it is.
It can fall
because
upon
if,
it.
If the officer is doing that, and now the inmates are watching, the same way we get paid to observe, they sit and observe. And they say,
they do.
wow.
You shouldn't be
they'll
doing that in
say,
front of the
You
inmates."
work, you're not understanding. When the workers come back, and let's say the house is even locked in, somebody is watching somewhere.
They're looking out that door.
Yo,
Yes.
he's got 5 extra. Yo, I saw a little bulge in his jumpsuit. Oh, I saw.
That they are.
You don't understand. You develop habits, and habits become issues later on. And that's what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get you to understand. I know that what you're saying is
No,
that
What-
the item is permissible.
Here we go, because
Mm-hmm.
you're equating that. You're saying no to that, but you're equating that same issue as if I'm bringing
No,
outside
they're
food in.
two separate issues.
So why would I not? So okay, so if they're two separate issues, but you're telling me the same consequence for both of them.
9 times out of 10, an officer who brings in food for an inmate versus an officer who gives an inmate DOC-related items, they're two different consequences.
And that's what I'm trying to get at.
It is standard operating procedure that you take care of your workers.
Yes.
It's standard operating procedure. I'm not saying anything wrong. There's no corruption behind it. What I'm saying is there's still consequences that can come behind even something like that.
But that's for
As
anything.
innocent as it might
Moving
be.
Yes.
forward. So that's
I get
so
that.
period, right? Now, the next thing is there are officers who have brought things in outside to gain compliance. That is an issue. And that has happened there. On the
In
North Pole.
Pole. In the North
Yes.
Pole. Okay, so now when we go into the North Pole, where like I said, I'm not somebody who could do anything that's gonna jeopardize my morality, right? But I can see me falling in line with the program. Or you give them extra checks, guess what? I'm gonna give them extra checks. Because you said that.
But are you going to order, because in certain places you can order outside, correct?
First of all, I was talking about just we're gonna.
we talking about DOC food.
We're gonna stick to
What we get from
what
DOC.
we can get.
Okay.
What we can get.
Okay.
All right, and then like what we can get. Okay, you give them extra checks. I'm gonna give them extra checks. You give them an extra muffin on Sundays. I'm gonna give them an extra muffin on Sundays, and everything is flowing correctly on
Until it doesn't.
Until it doesn't, but that's
Okay.
everywhere.
But
That's
that's something
everywhere.
that you started. That's
Yeah,
something that
that's
you got in
everywhere.
mind
This
with.
is the
That's fine.
program.
Right.
This is the program. Now, when you say, now here he goes with the MEO 16, and when it comes actually into being something more, here we go. You're now bringing in outside shit. Yo, you know he only locks in if he gets the pink Starburst. Where they got the pink Starburst at? Not in DOC. So I got to go outside and get the pack of Starburst and give him the 3 pink ones that come in the pack. Right? So now I'm giving this man extra. Now I'm considering this extra. I'm considering this something out of my pay range. Here we go. Because it could be a burger. Like you saying, yo, I'm doing burgers from outside. I'm just saying Starburst in general. It could be anything from motherfucking outside that you're giving him. Right? But the program is, your higher up says, bring this. I'm giving you this to bring to him. You don't have to go outside to get it. I already got it here.
The answer is no.
Right. So now let me ask you a question.
Oh no, for me it's no.
But the answer is no because there's a rules and regs, 3.20.070. It's the second paragraph.
Damn.
And it clearly says you must not obey any unlawful order. And because of that and that alone, that governs you. So the question becomes, am I worried about the person above me or the person way above that person?
But now this is where we
Because
go.
if you tell the person no, if you
Hold on,
tell
hold
the
on.
supervisor no, what are they really going to do?
You can tell me no, I'm going to tell you no.
Like, you can say
Depends on how
no.
much you know.
But how do you not?
Don't say how do you not know, because people don't know.
Hold
People
on.
do shit for the
Hold
supervisor
on.
all the time.
Hold on.
Just because the supervisor says it.
Let's be very clear.
We are not all smart people. Be clear on that. There are some dumb people that work in the business.
I remember there was
Yeah.
a captain who told me once, we were doing a search, and it was standard practice that when you go to search an inmate cell, when you check the book,
Yep.
you rip off the hard part, the hard cover. That was standard practice. One day, inmate filed a lawsuit and said, my rights are being violated. They are ripping apart literature. They're tearing apart books. They're taking the hard, after they've checked it and they clearly see that there's no contraband. And so, you know what someone said? Well, where was it written that we were supposed to do that? It was standard operating procedure. We just did it because, not for nothing, it just made sense, right? Like, why would I allow the inmate to have it? So it made sense. It wasn't like it was an order that was given that didn't make sense. It made sense. Bringing in something from outside does not make sense.
You're
You know
right.
why it doesn't make sense? Because if you have to conceal it and you can't show people what it is,
Wow.
right there, that tells you right from wrong.
Okay, now
You can't get around that.
now you're in an area who's concealing. Who was no. I want to know because I wasn't there. I didn't work in the North Pole.
Do you know that you cannot bring excess food to post?
How the fuck do you even get access food to post?
Excess.
Excess food. That's what I mean.
You
Excess food.
cannot bring excess food to post.
Wait, who defines what's accessible?
Container.
Well,
It's written.
Versus a whole pizza pie?
Well, according to, I don't know if it's rules and regs or if it's in our contract. You have to turn around. You have a bottle of water and a half a sandwich and I think an apple or a bag of chips. That's all yes, ma'am. That's all we're quote
All you're
unquote
supposed
governed to have.
So if you're a fat ass and you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Man, it's like, I can't make a whole sandwich. I
Because you
have-
can't, because technically you cannot have that. So now the question, you beg the question, right? How do you get a whole pizza pie to a post? It's on Gentech. I mean, somebody somewhere is seeing this, right?
Wait.
You cannot conceal pizza.
I want you to say exactly what you just said. How do you get that to post without anybody seeing it? So everybody sees it and everybody knows it's happening because this is the practice. So I cannot be off. Now this is my issue. I can't be mad at the officer who now gets there. He freshly gets there. How can I get there with him? And this is what he knows. He knows what y'all are doing up here. Everybody sees this. Everybody knows it's happening, and you want me to be mad at the officer for following along with the
Yes,
program?
because do you know how many times you are faced with situations that are just wrong, and you have to stand on 10 toes down and say, this is not something I can do.
And I can.
I've done it.
Hold on, I can see that.
This man has done it.
Here
I'm
we
sure
go.
you all have
Here
done
we
it.
go. I can see that if you say, all right, now the officer gets the pizza pie. If the officer knows it's for the inmates, I can see him saying, I'm not doing that shit. Right? But now if the officer says, if you're higher up, your supervisor says, yo, bring this pizza pie, I'm getting a pizza pie for us. You're going to do it. Because it's for us.
But you're also thinking that it's going to be for staff.
Correct.
So guess what?
Yes.
It's going to be a shared experience among staff.
That's
At
what
no
I'm thinking.
time should it be on the floor, correct?
That's what
or
I'm thinking.
in this area.
Now, if you tell me, yo, now if you add some shit to that, like if I can bring the shit there, but you can't, when you start adding shit to it, that's when shit starts getting fucked up.
Yes.
Let me tell you what I have a problem with. I have an issue.
Did he have it in the cereal box or not?
Yeah.
But see, this is a gray area, and I'm going to tell you why it's a gray area. It's a gray area. There's shades of gray.
Ray.
It is gray because when you're modified for it, that means that there's shades of gray.
Okay.
All right, let's be clear. You weren't terminated, right? And you're still being investigated. That's a shade of gray.
First of all, how long is the investigation?
You can be investigated for the
But
rest of
why?
because it appeared.
Because it don't make
And this
sense.
is serious.
It doesn't make
Because
sense.
it
You can
appeared-
investigate for the
it
last 3 months. What are we
appeared.
doing? We're on Gentech. We can follow your movements. We can monitor your calls. People have gotten indicted. How long does it take for an investigation? Let's be serious. If we think that you're doing something, how long do you think it takes? Or we're gonna allow you to collect money
You have people who have been modified for years.
for years.
Years.
Doesn't make sense.
5,
But
6,
modified means
7.
what?
That means
It
that you
means
are
that-
receiving a paycheck, but you are pumping gas. You cannot have inmate contact. You have no shield.
yeah, that's right.
You have an ID that says I'm an employee. That is all you have.
You're not an officer. You're just an employee.
You're modified because we don't know what we're gonna do with you.
That situation is great, and let me tell you why. Let's play devil's advocate. What did they do on the midnight? They used to put the cereal out, correct?
Mm-hmm.
They used to stack them up
Yep.
and put it out, right? And throw some milks in, right? And anybody had access to it,
Mhm.
right or wrong.
Correct.
Yeah.
Anybody had access. I don't know that there's something in this particular cereal box. I just grab it.
Mm.
I go to post. I don't touch it. I put it down. I go on the floor. I say, you know what? Let me take this with me because I might want to have something to munch on. Go on the floor. The inmate says, yo, I can get that box of cereal.
Which
You
they
know
will
what?
say.
I wasn't going to eat
That
it.
is correct.
You know what? You got it. And I bring it to him.
Mm-hmm.
Unbeknownst to me,
Yes.
this box has something in it.
All right, that's some bullshit.
No, it's not.
You playing
Is
devil?
what I
No,
said
no, no, no.
far-fetched?
Here we go.
Anybody in this room?
Yes,
is what I said far-fetched?
No, I'm gonna tell you when.
Is
Nah,
what I
shit-
said far-fetched?
shit happened, bro.
Nothing I said was
Let me
far-fetched.
tell you.
Something like what? I'm sorry.
It don't matter. Anything. I'm just saying when it can have been far fetched, right?
But that shit could happen.
Wait. You know what the far fetched thing would be? Is that you put it down. You took it from the KK. You came upstairs. You put the cereal down. You went back out on the floor. That's the far fetched shit for me.
No, it's not.
Not like at what point
We're talking about the midnight tour.
is
So
the cereal
what I
closed?
said falls in line with the scenario.
You saying it's sealed?
It appears
It's
to be
sealed.
sealed, yes.
Appears to be.
But then here we go. Now this would be my issue with that shit. That means it was meant for somebody.
And guess what? I didn't know that it was meant for anyone because I just wanted to grab a box of cereal.
Copy.
So now guess what?
Copy.
Had I consumed it, maybe I myself would have been
Copy.
would have been hurt,
Yes,
would have
the
been
victim of it.
hospitalized,
But-
would have fallen ill.
All right.
Because guess what? Unbeknownst to me, this is something that's placed inside of an open area that everyone has access
Now,
to,
this-
officers and inmates.
This would be my
I
problem.
grabbed mistakenly, not knowing that this was already for someone, but I'm
Nobody-
taking it because guess what? I wanted it.
All right, now,
And I mistakenly
nobody
give it out.
gives away good drugs. So you're not mistakenly placing good drugs anywhere.
I am if I put it down and I say, listen.
Then you're fucking up. So you saying somebody might have fucked up.
So
and
what I'm saying
that
is-
means, like, a lot of people have to fuck up.
Yo, do me listen.
This is a perfect storm.
Me and you were in this, right? Let's say you and I are in this, and I said, listen, the third box to the left. That's gonna be it. You get there, and the third box to the left is
And
gone.
now this is where you fucked up at, because that means
That
somebody
is-
took their eyes off of the money.
What
are you talking about? Yeah, like what are you talking about?
It's on camera.
Everything is on camera. What do you like?
No,
Only time you're not
no,
on camera,
going in, not inside. That is incorrect.
That's
They
correct.
do not have Gentech. The only
Inside,
Gentech
inside.
in the KK is,
In the front.
is going in,
And
and the camera that takes a picture of you when you purchase food.
Yeah,
You are
that
incorrect.
side.
that's how. Yeah.
But it's also on the grill side.
It's not on the food side, but
And
now-
if you go into that bathroom, nobody would see you.
yeah, but here we go.
Right, but somebody
That
has
means
to put
somebody
the
fucked up the money.
But who's to say?
Who's to say
so
that?
we can't. You cannot pinpoint and
It's not
specifically say
Now-
that is that person who
Hold on.
did it.
Now, when we go into the situation where the man with the apostles, right?
Okay.
I said I don't believe it. I don't believe anybody who stood with that man could ever believe that shit. I don't think any officer who has ever stood with him could believe that situation.
The person trying to know.
What I believe is that sometimes you can be complicit in one thing and not know how far it could go. So let me explain what I mean. Maybe that select group of people were comfortable with what they were doing. That could have been bringing in food. That could have been supplying extra food, like you said, inmate permissible items. Versus now, one person thought he was Nino Brown.
No.
Yeah, it only takes one day.
It only takes one person to say, yo, I'm going to do this differently because, listen, yeah, we doing that, but I'm going to do this because I'm going to get something out of this. And you know what? Them dudes ain't like that. So I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Or maybe I think I can do it better than them,
You gave up scenarios. You gave up.
but everything I said was realistic.
It's realistic. If we never got the Nino Brown behind this shit, that light skinned motherfucker's just going down for everything, is what you're saying.
That's correct.
So why have and then the light skinned motherfuckers under investigation? This is how I can also see that he didn't do it, because you would not still.
Maybe Nino Brown got to retire with their pension.
Whoa.
You gotta put a bullet on. You gotta put a name on that bullet.
Whoa.
Put a name on it.
Because I can't see who that is in that situation. Who up there would have been Nino Brown?
Let me ask you a question. Was Nino Brown always present?
No, G Money had the operation.
Oh, okay.
Okay, who up there was G Money? You can't put another name to the people who worked in the North Pole that you could even fathom that could do something shit like that when it came to officers. Because you had to be solid to get there and to start. Except for what? Campos. No, he can get his name dropped. He got indicted. He pled guilty to this shit.
Yes, unfortunately true.
And guess what? If he got caught and he was
Can we
on
get
some bullshit, like
Compress on the show?
I would love to have him on.
Let's get Compress on the show, and I'm going to tell you why. Because as a result of him falling for the trap,
He didn't fall for the trap. That was not a trap. It's not a trap. He wanted to do this. There's a difference between getting caught up and accepting the consequences. Like you said, yo, I'm gonna do this. Not everybody gets trapped to do this shit. Some of these motherfuckers is dirty from the start.
You make a conscious decision to say, I'm going to go, today I'm going to go and I'm
Yes.
going to do this.
Like somebody offered you this before, and you said, you know what? Let me think about it. It wasn't a no.
Like she know more than
No, you can't. I'm just saying, like, it's blowing my fucking mind that people would give people outs. I can't give that man an out. You willingly did this shit. There's certain people you can't give outs. I can't give. I want to.
She probably knows more. That's why she feels.
It's not about knowing more. It's knowing that you went in to do that shit. How do you get Pels that out? How do you get? And that man worked with us. That man stood on our side. That man had a GoFundMe that went through the roof, and then after his 30-day suspension, he got hit with another 30 days. That shit bothers me. Like, now I'm talking from passion because I'm like, yo, I fucking couldn't stand people like that who stood by my side and was dirty.
And had
So
God on
when-
his side.
He was by our side all the time.
And by our side, like, I got your back, motherfucker, and you doing me dirty like this. So when I see somebody like the man with the apostles get hit up for this shit, I can't believe it because that man was by my side. And you're not even coming to me with the proof. Guess what happened with Pels? And guess what happened to Campos? They got indicted. This man is still under investigation. After how long? No, this sounds like a setup to me.
I'm gonna say this.
I can see he was complacent in other areas, but I can't see he's complacent with doing some dirt.
The character that I observed from that person, I would say, I don't believe that that person knowingly did that.
Right.
That is how I see
I will
it.
accept
That's
that.
how I feel.
Yeah, we don't think that.
But I also, two things can be true at the same time, but I also believe that because there were other things that were going on that people were complicit in, I believe that that was the thing that fell on that person innocently.
He fell on a sword.
Yes,
and
that's
it was
what I believe.
And I can see
That is
that.
really what I believe.
Day room.
What do you believe on that situation? The man with the apostles.
And you worked up there.
I enjoyed taking my various trips up to the North Pole. And working up there, what I liked the most about it was you had a team effort. And because it's like you have to trust that, you have to be able to trust that person to your left and to your right. I can say I'm humbly glad I've never seen anything that made me look at you differently.
Right.
In this situation alone, when I got that phone call, I made my way in to catch him, to see, yo, let me holler at you, let me find out what's going on. Unfortunately, the dude who brought the bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich from earlier, he jumped up in the conversation. Oh, I took care of that. Whatever, dude. And then, he let him go on about his business.
Wine man.
Basically, yes. In my humble opinion, innocent until proven guilty. And at this point in time, should be done with.
It should be.
I believe that he should be cleared, but I also am going to say this. And
Wait. I want you, when you say that, I don't want you to preface it, but I also should say this. I want you to leave out anything else that you might have seen. I'm talking about this situation in general.
I'm just
And-
going to make,
not in
I'm
general,
just going to make a general
specifically.
statement. If you do something wrong, oftentimes you don't get caught and in trouble for that thing.
You did a lot of shit
He
before.
caught was shit. It's crazy that way.
It's like it just like life's unfortunate circumstances that you go down for something that you're like, wait, hold on, wait. Like
I did
didn't
all
even
this other
do that.
stuff.
Like, I wasn't even there. Like it was
Yeah.
my day off. You know what I mean? Like, and it's
Okay.
sad because that's what I think. What I'm saying to you is there's a culture, and that culture is created amongst what? Amongst us. How we're gonna work with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is that somebody sometimes they go their own path, they go a different way. And there was a culture that existed up there that was already compromised,
Okay.
minus that situation.
I got to ask you about the...
So that culture creates what? Pressure.
Absolutely.
And that pressure came with what is the next level that I've got to go to get these guys to fall in line. Because obviously, the people who were over that area, supervisors, were not supporting the staff to say, if that guy doesn't fall in line, you have the use of force. Do not be excessive and ensure that he is seen, he is treated, and put him back in his cell. That's what should be happening.
But you know why?
But if
it
that's
can't
not
happen.
being done
It
and you're
can't
not being supported and you're sitting here going, these dudes are not locking in, they're violating the showers, they're holding the floor, they won't Like, what do you do?
Hold on. Hey, I'm gonna say why it can't happen. ESU, who was up there at a certain point,
Yes.
got suspended,
Yeah.
and they're moving correctly. So if they can get suspended, who can't?
When you say correctly,
I mean, they're correcting corrections.
I think that they were operating absolutely wonderfully. But guess what? The department felt that it was excessive. I don't think that they were excessive at all. But the department felt that it was excessive. So what I'm saying to you is, the eyes in the sky that were watching, the eyes in the sky said,
Civilians.
we were watching you. We watched you from the time you left from here to there. We watched you when you did this. We watched you when you did that. And we watched you when you... And I'm saying that you were watching, but there were blind spots. And that right there should absolve that person of any guilt.
You know where the blind spots are.
No, it's not even that. It's not.
It's not even that.
It's not our blind spots. It's just that shit happens.
It's the way it's set up. It's everything from the KK to the elevator. From the elevator, when you get off the elevator, to when you get to the bubble, when you leave the bubble, when you get onto the floor, when you go. Like, there are so many
on.
blind spots.
I got a question for both of y'all.
Yes.
So, what was the fuckiest shit that you seen? Well, not really you with your little button, but damn, I said little button. I said supposed to say.
That's
I'm
okay.
not- I don't mean to minimize the
That's all right.
situation, but what was like besides the button? What was like the fuckiest thing that you seen up there? Now I remember going up there and I would see.
I'm gonna tell you what I didn't like. I'm gonna tell you what I didn't like. There's a lot of shit I didn't like. But what I didn't like was you know how you say you work for the officer?
Right.
I don't work for you. You're an inmate. You're entitled to what you're entitled to. And in the 8.5 hours that I'm working, I'm going to give you what you're entitled to. If you're entitled to a shower, a telephone call, whatever the case is. But to me, it looked like modern day slavery up there. Like they were working on a plantation field.
Wait, who? The inmates or the
The
officers?
officers. They were like a slave to these dudes. I used to go up there and do medication. And they didn't give me a problem. Listen, you're not getting anything today. The pharmacist has this paperwork. I've already verified.
Yep.
This is not, you're not getting that. Nobody splashed me. Nobody said F you. Nobody said, oh, like, I gave instructions. I gave direct, clear, concise orders. And they, and
Wait.
I don't do that.
It doesn't have to be a woman's
don't
body.
do
You said in a
that.
woman's
I
body.
want you to think. So what makes you think the other officer didn't do it when you weren't there?
Because at the point where I was up there for about 6 months, what I saw was something that I had never seen before. I never saw being called multiple times to the office. Like, you're calling them like every second. You are
Very
telling
needy.
them, I'm not eating at 11 o'clock. You're going to keep my food in the warmer until the lock-in. And then you give them the food at 3 o'clock, and they still don't want to go in.
So the demands.
Yes.
You never seen the inmate.
I want water every 5 minutes. I want you to do this every 2 seconds. Like, at some point,
Like a butler service?
Worse.
it literally was worse. It was worse than the butler.
From hearing what you're saying, it sounds like when you have two parents, one parent is willing to acquiesce to your demands, and the other one's not.
They look like
so they know who.
suckers. I'm not used to officers looking like suckers. Like,
She's the parent that's saying,
because
hell
the bottom
no.
line was they were telling them, I'm not going to do this until you do that. And then when the officer would do it, they still wouldn't comply. Like, so my thing is, so then at what point do you, the officer, say, you know what?
The first time they don't comply, shut everything down.
That's it. And that wasn't the system up there. And I had to get to the point where I remember specifically, I said to one officer in particular, you don't know how to run this house. I'm not used to this. I'm just not accustomed to non-compliance. And if you can't get them in at 3 o'clock, you don't deserve to work up here.
The unfortunate.
And every day I made that officer figure out how he was going to get them in a minute sooner than he did the last time.
Hold on. And then you guys have to say, I don't want to drown you out.
No, that's okay. The unfortunate part is we're going to go back to the culture that was created. Under what you came under, there was order.
Yes.
And the fact that there was order was established from up all the way down. And then those in our custody fell in line with order because they actually needed order. But now you have those who, I'm almost at the twilight of my end. I don't care. You know what? Don't worry about that. Just give them this. And because if we don't take the time out to read and say, you know what, I can't do that. Oh, but wait, no, I can't do that because of this. I'm going to fall in line with
I
it.
got a question. You talking about officers or higher ups now?
Officers, instead of telling those above you, no. Because you could tell a person there, the answer is no. Listen, what do you want? Something to drink? Got you. Listen, this is not the back and forth. 'Cause I know for me, I got to a point.
Yeah,
Enough is enough.
I'm not walking back and forth. for
Enough is
nobody.
enough. Listen, this is what this is. I'm up. I'll be back in 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to do my tour. Other than that, no. No. But after a while, I'm gonna come on this floor and I'm gonna give you the respect due you as a person. Either you're gonna give it to me or you're not. The unfortunate part is people don't have enough self-respect to say, you know what, I have enough self-respect for myself, but I'm also gonna treat you as the human being that you are. That does not mean I'm soft. That does not mean I'm a sucker. Doesn't mean none of that. That just means I don't have to comply to what you have to do because you're going to throw something on me. For what?
Let me say this. Let me just say this. Let me interject for 1 second. If you had taken,
That's what's supposed to happen.
if you
according-
had taken the officers from, let's just say the officers from Brooklyn House
Right,
that work steady in the intake.
right.
I love each and every single one of you. If you had taken the guys from Brooklyn House, if you had taken the guys from the intake from MDC, love each and every single one of you. Guess what? That system would have been in progress up there. If you know
Well, where did they come from?
that you cannot, weakness, if you know that you are not built for something, you have to own that. Listen, they put me on a post in an area just like this, and I had 3 weeks on the job. This restricted area in your old stomping grounds and in your old stomping grounds. And guess what? I worked there for 4 days, and on the 4th day, you know what I told Mike Tyson? Ma'am, this ain't for me. This is not for me. I am not built for this. You had people drawing flowers with their feces. You had guys holding up the
ma'am.
floor. You had flooding. I didn't know where. Dorothy wanted to click her heels and go home, okay? I said, this is not for me. But you know what worked for me and worked well? I'm great in general pop. High max, doesn't matter. I'm good at giving orders. I'm good at getting compliance. And when I don't, you're going to get violated. So guess what? It is what it is. But I knew that I wasn't built for that. And let me tell you something. When you work in these areas and you're elite,
You have to know.
I give so much respect to those officers because they're willing to do what I don't want to do. And not because I'm scared. I didn't want to do that. It just was tedious. It was a lot. It was exhausting. And I was a woman. And I was like, I don't want to do that today. And yes, my gender played a role in that. So to me, I was good at what I was good at, and I wanted to stay in that lane. And so you have to be honest with yourself. Just because you're a male doesn't mean you're a man. And it doesn't mean that because you're a man that you're a pussy because you say, I don't want to do something. If it's not for you, it's not for you.
That's correct.
Day room.